Thanks very much, Laurie, and thanks to Rick McCutcheon for inviting us to be part of this discussion today. My name is Adam Stewart, and I have joined with me here my colleague Adam Draper. We're with a company called IntroHive. We're a Microsoft Dynamics ISV partner, and we're going to talk to you today a little bit about solving the CRM adoption problem. So help getting your users to use CRM. That's the topic of discussion for the panel later on as well. So we'd be happy to kind of give our view on what that's going to look like. So just to go through introductions here and share a little bit of the agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about CRM adoption. Then we're going to show you what the IntroHive product is and our approach to that. Share with you a case study on one of our clients that's actually gone through this process and how they've increased adoption of their CRM system. And then show you a quick little demonstration, and then leave some time at the end for Q&A. So this shouldn't take 15 minutes total all the way to go through. So Adam Draper, I'm not sure if you're on and able to speak, but thought you might want to just quickly introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Adam. So you've got Adam squared here from IntroHive today, but it's Adam Draper speaking. I'm a Vice President of Sales in North America. I actually came to IntroHive from one of the major CRM vendors about 5 years ago. So I've enjoyed a good 5 years stint here with the company and mostly manage a North American business, but do have some global responsibility as well.
Great. Thanks, Adam. Okay, let's jump into this. As we go along, please feel free to raise your hand and ask questions. We will either address them in line or at the end of the session. To kick things off, if you want to kind of think to yourself some reasons why people are maybe not using your CRM system today. We've done a bunch of research, and there's a bunch of research available on the web on these sort of things. And the things that we've found that are contributing to people not using CRM are really a cyclical problem that comes down to ultimately two different things, but expanded that's more like four. So looking at data entry taking too long, so too much effort to put into data entry to get contacts and activities and notes into CRM. When they do so, the data itself is poor, or the data in the CRM system is already poor, so they're not really getting great value out of it, which leads to number 3 there. And then the fourth one is, to some people, CRM is actually hard to use. So they're used to using other systems, whether it be email or just web forms or things like that. And CRM presents a little bit of a challenge for them and a change in their behavior. So we see this actually coming ahead in the form of a bit of a vicious cycle, which is CRM adoption struggles because the data in CRM is poor, and people don't use CRM because that data is poor. As a result, when they're putting data in, they're not really putting their best effort into it. So they're entering contacts in the system with minimal effort, not putting great notes into the system, which leaves the system at a fault or at a loss for other people coming in later on to get information from CRM. Where we see this resulting is CRM being seen as expensive to people because they've got to go through the effort of putting in contacts, putting in notes, putting in activities. They've got to spend a bunch of time doing that. And we've ran some research and have asked hundreds of different sales and business development professionals on this, how much time they're spending on these tasks on a daily and weekly basis. And where we've come to is that people are spending in excess of 5 hours per user per week doing this sort of information, data entry. And if you just took a typical cost of $50 an hour, which obviously if you're dealing with a professional services firm or something like that, that's obviously very, very conservative. But you're looking at a $13,000 amount of money spent on an annual basis per CRM user in the form of data entry. So that's something that we really need to address from a CRM perspective to make the tool as valuable as it can possibly be for the organization.
And even though I was going to say, I would actually challenge this a little bit because I know that our survey responders that answered favorably are putting that much time into the system. I know I've certainly put at least that much a week into CRM over the course of my career. But I think there's actually an opposite view in this as well, which is that a lot of firms and a lot of companies really struggle to get people to put anything in at all. So I think for the folks that are really good, stewards of CRM, they're major supporters internally to an organization. They'll certainly put this kind of time and effort into the system. I think the reality of it is, for a lot of firms, they really struggle to get people to put in more than what's required. So traditional sales organizations, you put enough in to make sure you're commissioned, if that's part of your spiff or your comp model. For services firms, I think a lot of those professionals feel like, data entry and data stewardship is beyond them. So I think, my experience in sitting in a lot of those meetings is that there's certainly a vision to what CRM can do, and we all talk about that hub and spoke model that you kind of crawl, walk, and run into. But I think realistically, a lot of firms are struggling to ever get there, just very simply because the data is actually not getting put in the system. And if you think of that for a minute, we look at cross-practice or cross-selling opportunities. We look at marketing lists, CASL compliance in Canada, and things like that. The ability to kind of manage those things through CRM is really only as good as the data that people put into it.
Excellent point. Yeah, the CRM, it really is only as good as the data that's in there. So you want people putting in quality data as much as they can. Again, coming back to that study that we've done in the past, 88% of people admit to not entering the complete amount of information in when they do enter a CRM record. CRM are typically out of date. We have 69% of companies actually saying that they find that their system is out of date. 2/3 of people find that there are oftentimes duplicates inside CRM, so you're wasting data there or not matching up the appropriate records to the opportunities and to the leads. And again, probably 2/3 of people are not even logging that data. So either you're spending too much time doing it, or you're not doing it all, in which case CRM is not as beneficial as it could be to the organization. Obviously, though, it does not have to be this hard, and we've got some thoughts or different approaches here on how it can be made easier for the organization. And so kind of the top of the list, and this is something that the InterHive platform will show you here in a minute, will actually help you do, is taking away those time-consuming tasks that people have, whether that be looking up contact information, researching people, figuring out duplicates, tracking down account records and whatnot, and entering all that data into the system. There's a way that you can go and you can safely automate this while getting accurate and complete data into your CRM system. The next piece is around not requiring end users to change the way that they currently work. So oftentimes going into a CRM system, whether it be opening the second web page or opening up an app or something like that, is a little bit of a foreign concept to people who are used to just working on the phone, working in their email, for example. So allowing CRM systems to work where users work already, typically in email, either through the form of a side panel that sits inside of Outlook or within the body of the email itself, is oftentimes going to help you get more of that rich data into your CRM system. Obviously, you can simplify the process of getting data in there, not requiring a bunch of mandatory fields on different pages or on different records. And again, going back to kind of fitting into the workflow that the end user has already and simplifying that process to get data in. Obviously, data is the big focus there. And then the other thing is, coming back to kind of the theme of this discussion today around the psychology of CRM adoption and making sure that you're addressing that what's in it for me piece for the end user. So really getting valuable information out of CRM and putting it in front of people when and where they need it.
Which, Adam, I think is indicative of what we see in our client base. So, I mean, InterHive aside, it's not uncommon, for example, with professional services firms that actually have a research area of the marketing department, and their sole focus and a lot of what they do is putting together client briefing documents and things like that prior to a lunch or a dinner or a conference or event or whatever it may be. And a lot of times what that is they're actually aggregating or trying to aggregate what's in CRM, what's in their time and billing, what's in their marketing system, and all these things. And if we think of what CRM really could be for the firm, or the company, it's really the hub and kind of your system of record for all things sales and marketing and biz dev focus, et cetera. So I think the ability to not only add automation into the picture, but really kind of provide those predictive insights out of CRM, whether it's something folks compile manually, which is a more traditional way of doing things, or automate it, which obviously InterHive can help with. That typically, in my experience, working with CRM companies, et cetera, is where you kind of give the change of perception for the end user of what CRM is. It suddenly becomes something that you're not spending, inordinate amounts of time in to contribute data to and to be managed to, but now something that's, truly providing value back to the end user, whether that's, walking into a sales call or, meeting up with somebody for coffee at a coffee shop.
So we'll just take you through a quick overview of then what IntraHive does. Really, the sole purpose here is to make CRM as easy to use as possible. The system actually sits between your mail platform, so whether that's 365 or Gmail or Lotus Notes, and your CRM system, whether it be Dynamics Online, D365, wherever you've kind of gone there, and automates the entry of data into that system without requiring a whole bunch of work from end users. Flip through some of the customers that we have here, and we'll touch on a case study here in a minute. I'll come back to this actually, but this is a professional services firm that actually used the platform and managed to get a ton more accurate and complete data into their system that they were able to then use to better their relationships and ultimately drive more revenue for the firm. So take you through a demo of the product. I'm going to show you 4 pieces here. One is pulling data out of CRM and putting it in front of end users when and where they need it. So we do this typically in the form of an email. I'm also going to show you how you can capture all of the different contacts that you're meeting with or emailing with and make sure those are entered into CRM without a whole bunch of work. Making sure notes are in the system as well. So we'll prompt users to enter their notes in a timely manner. And then we'll show you how you can use that relationship map or that who knows who in order to use for prospecting or building out your network. So because IntraHive actually sits next to the email environment, we're able to see meetings that people have upcoming later on in the day. So if you can imagine this scenario where we have this meeting coming up this afternoon with a company called Stellar Mobile, what IntraHive will do is it'll pull together this pre-meeting digest and send it out to the salesperson, the business development person, the consultant ahead of their meeting, and making sure that they're fully prepared for that meeting. So it'll include things like company news, for example, notes and tasks that are already in CRM today. We're going to tell you who you're meeting with and give you a picture of who those people actually are. So oftentimes you'll get a meeting that gets forwarded to somebody else, and you want to really understand what that person's role is, so you can actually dig into to see who those people are and how they fit into your client that you're meeting with. We'll pull back relevant information from CRM, so like if you've got projects or opportunities on the go, giving you that kind of holistic view of what's going on with that organization. Now, this is what we call the pre-meeting digest. It comes ahead of a meeting, but can also be sent proactively to key account managers on a monthly or a weekly basis, and it is configurable to include all sorts of different elements from CRM systems, but also other systems inside the organization. Following the meeting, we're going to actually try and get people to put their notes into the system without them having to do a whole bunch of things. So what we do is, again, we send them an email saying, hey, Adam, we had this meeting with Stellar Mobile. Why don't you just hit reply to this meeting and we'll get your notes into the system for you today. So the person just hits reply. They type their meeting notes in. This is in the standard body of an email, so it doesn't require an app or anything like that. We'll work on mobile devices. If they want, they can put in their voice to text, so their Siri or their Google Assistant, and get those notes and follow-up tasks right into Dynamics without them having to open up an app. So it kind of works in the workflow that they're typically used to. Then at the end of the day or the end of the week, we're going to go through all of those people that you've been meeting with, all the people that you've been emailing back and forth, and any new entries into your address book. We're going to collect those, look inside Dynamics, and see if those records are inside the CRM today. And if they're not, we're going to put together this email that basically says, we found all these people and activities that aren't in your system. Do you want to put them in? And the person just simply clicks next, and we'll synchronize all of that data back into CRM for them. So it's a pretty straightforward process. Go ahead.
Sorry, so I know we have about 1 or 2 minutes left, so I just want to circle back on something here. So for the folks in the call, what Adam just kind of showed you at a very high level is kind of the meeting life cycle from an IntraHive perspective. So if you think about how CRM would kind of historically typically work, what we're trying to do here is really make it simpler for the end users. So I have a meeting coming up in my calendar. IntraHive is going to prepare me. I have a key client I want to get some data on every Monday morning. IntraHive is going to give me that as well. coming out of the meeting, we're working inside of email, making it really easy to get those meeting notes and tasks into the system. And one thing we kind of glazed over on the contact sync and the activity sync is, while we can help you capture all that data, whether it's directly by the user or by proxy, we have a full enrichment engine running in the background, scraping signatures. We also kind of enrich in a different way as well when there's not a signature present, so that all those emails, all those interactions we're having with folks can actually very much become contact records and activities inside of the CRM system. And so when we talk about saving folks, 5, 6, 7 hours a week, and those numbers Adam showed earlier in his webinar, that's really where a lot of that's coming from, is kind of working where and when the end user needs the data, and kind of working in the format they're working in to get it to them. So just a kind of a different view of how we would typically use a CRM system.
Okay, guys.
Exactly.
So how can people get a hold of you and get a full demo of this product?
Well, I think that's a great segue, Rick. Got our contact information up on the system there. You can either reach out to myself, Adam Stewart, or Adam Draper, and all that contact information is on screen there, or just go to www.introhive.com.
Thanks, guys. I got to tell everybody, at the first time I ran into IntroHive on a project, it was a client where I was doing the sales process work. They were buying 5,000 licenses of Dynamics, and they were buying IntroHive to go with it. So it's quite the impressive product. So if you're interested in really how this pulls together your Rolodex with your social Rolodex, with everybody else's Rolodex in your company, it's a fantastic product.